Happy Thursday morning, everybody. This is the Going Broadway podcast. Hope everyone out there is doing well. Alex and Cole with you this morning. Cole, what's happening?
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the greatest wrestling podcast ever, no matter what day it is. But today, it's Thursday. And going forward, it's Thursday.
And going forward, it's Thursday, and you know what that means. So, no, we're not gonna steal that slogan. We've got plenty of our own to use. So, normally this is the part of the show where I run down and say hi to everybody that's on the podcast. Everyone's on the thread, but it's just been blowing up this morning, so I'm just say a blanket good morning to everybody. We got a ton to talk about.
So much to talk about.
And it's really funny because I was coming in this morning and thinking we always have a ton to talk about, but there's a lot that happened just last night and not even AEW related necessarily. So we will get there. However, let's address the elephant in the room. In the chat room, if you will. So we are giving away 3 free belts this morning, and I will pull up our little topics thing, not just for you guys, but for Cole and I as well, to help us stay on topic, if you will. As you can see, we will be giving that away at the end of the podcast. However, we've attempted to give these away 2 other times. The winner did not, actually in one case, did not respond at all. In the other case, didn't respond within the 24 hours. So what we're going to do this morning is, if you are on the podcast this morning when I ask for the keyword, I'm not going to say when I'm going to give the keyword. If you're on the podcast this morning when I give the keyword and you reply with that keyword, and you've done at least 3 of the 4. So I said this last week on our show. If you have either, again, of these 4, you need to have done 3 of these. Liked our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you've done 3 of those 4 and you're on the podcast with us live when I reply with the keyword, you will be entered to win the 3 free belts. You can only win today if you reply with the keyword and have done if you've done 3 of those 4 things. So, again, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And normally I do that whole shilling at the promotions part, which I will again later. But make sure you've done 3 of those 4 and that you're with us on the podcast when we ask for the keyword from you guys. But you guys got to be on here when I ask for that keyword. And if you're not, sorry for your luck or lack thereof. So, no, we got a cool show lined up for you. Before we jump in, it's not just a good day for you guys out there. It's a good day for Cole and I. So I have a surprise for Cole.
What?
I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to hang tight a second. If I say too much, I'm going to play spoiler, and I don't want to do that. So hang tight just a second.
I don't know what's going on right now. This is the beauty of our show, is that like every week, this dude always is like, oh, man, we got a great show lined up, and I think I know everything, and then I get on air, and he's like, hey, by the way, Cole doesn't even know this.
No, Cole literally does not know. So with our change in our podcast scheduling, I work from home on Wednesdays now, and so on Tuesday and Thursday mornings now, whenever I come into the office, which is where our podcast is, there is a day's worth of mail and deliveries and stuff already here. So we got a package, I guess it came yesterday, from somebody named Tom, came from somewhere in Utah, obviously someone that watches the show, but Cole and I each got a set of these.
What is this?
So I joked a few shows ago.
Goodness.
I joked a few shows ago about somebody about us having our own GBP kicks because I've got like 3 pairs of Jordan 1s already, and so yeah, you want to show these on camera? Yeah. Somebody literally sent us Jordan 1s in our Going Broadway podcast colors.
Wow. I like the red laces too.
I'm not a fan of the red laces.
That'll be my Christmas shoe.
Well, that's true. Let's put it this way.
Wow.
So he sent Tom. There's no name on the package. It just says, enjoy the GBP kicks, Tom.
Wow.
So Tom in Utah, whoever you are, if that is your real name, thank you for those.
That's crazy.
Like I said, he sent us 2 pairs. I'm actually going to do this. I'm actually going to give you both pairs. I'm not going to keep mine. Well, here's what I want you to do, though. A lot of you guys know Cole's also a youth pastor. I want you to give those to someone in your youth group, or, I mean, I don't know if anyone wears a size 10.
Well, so actually one of the cool things, a lot of people...
By the way, they are the right size, because whenever we joked about it, we were both like, yeah, we wear size 10s.
Well, and one of my hobbies is, for years I worked in the shoe industry. I'm a huge sneakerhead. Alex knows this. Specifically Jordans, actually. I have other Nikes and things like that, but sneakers have always been a passion of mine. And so one of the messages I actually usually do as a youth pastor is call If the Shoe Fits. And at the end of the message, I actually give away a pair of Jordans during that time. So that's just such a cool gift. And Tom, if you're listening, if you get to watch this, thank you so much. Like,
my wife's on here. Hi, babe.
Obviously, like, we never expect anything.
Oh, absolutely not.
I have been just extremely blessed from this show more than once. And it means so much. You have no idea how much this gift means to me. And so thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it.
And Tom, alias Tom, whoever you are, we do appreciate it. I appreciate it. And my wife's on the thread. She can attest to this. I have too many pairs of shoes as it is. And so hopefully you're not offended by me giving my pair to Cole. But I can't do any more shoes. So, and I thought about, doing the whole, giving them away thing, but I don't want to spoil you guys. So no, Cole is a youth pastor. He has a youth group, and keep a pair for yourself. Give the other pair to anyone else that might wear size 10, or have a contest for them.
Yeah,
something
for sure.
So, but again, thank you to whoever gave those to us. Thank you to whoever sends us things just to be nice. We don't do our giveaways to expect anything in return. Like, our joy in this is you guys having fun, you guys having a good time, you guys just hanging out with us on this podcast every week is enough. So, but yeah, thank you again. Thank you. Just a blanket thank you to everybody, not just for the person that sent us the Jordans. So, that being said, why don't we just jump in?
Yeah, I don't know how you follow that.
I don't know how you do either. I'll tell you what, we're gonna have a specific segment dedicated to the draft. So let's table that one. Well, let's talk about last night, because I mentioned that there was a lot that happened just last night, and that normally prior to today we wouldn't have even been able to talk about. But we're live on Thursday mornings now, so that's the beauty of being able to be on Thursday mornings, is we get to talk about Dynamite and anything else that might have happened. So
it's actually kind of a better day.
It is. Oh, I 100% agree.
Now you've gotten the Dynamite card pretty much locked down for sure for that week. TNA is obviously tonight, Impact's tonight, but we kind of know what's going on there.
We can talk about SmackDown and Rampage tomorrow. I agree. I think Thursday is just a much better day. So tell you what, let's talk about something that's unexpected. So did you see this this Women of Wrestling promotion and its resurgence, if you will?
Yeah, I was kind of curious if they were going to come back, because I think they really did take a huge hit during the major part of the pandemic era and some of those things. But it really seems like it's kind of surfacing. I think that's interesting that it's happening since the Mickie James NWA all-women's event. Now WWE's doing a Queen's Crown tournament. We have this new belt that was unveiled last night strictly for women.
It's very
a timely, I hate to say the word agenda, but it's interesting that this promotion's trying to resurge at the same time as all these other companies. Almost like all these other companies knew that this was about to happen for them. So
what's more interesting is that AJ Lee is on board as an executive director. There we go. I'm just really surprised that her getting back into wrestling. And it could just be because she wants to do her own thing. She wants to do her thing outside of CM Punk and AEW, which, cool. I'm kind of surprised that, given that we know that they have a good marriage, well, based on CM Punk mentioning her basically almost every week since he's been back, I'm surprised that she didn't want to do AEW, or, they didn't have. Surely they would have made a place for her in some way, shape, or form if she wanted to be there. So this kind of tells me that, again, she wants to do her own thing. Maybe she just wants to do something that is focused on women's wrestling. If she does, more power to her. And at this point, it's, for those of you that enjoy women's wrestling, it gives you another choice.
Not to mention, the door is always open.
That's
I
true.
mean, right now, it's such a weird dynamic in wrestling right now to know that outside of WWE, you basically can work for everyone, and it's a weird dynamic because obviously you have to be on somebody's payroll. So if she's with WOW to get her check in a sense, but then at some point does a thing with NWA or with AEW or Impact or any of these other companies, she can, because who's going to stop her?
Yeah.
What's going to stop that from happening? So
I will say I don't see any other promotions touching Tessa Blanchard at this point, but
Women of Wrestling might. I mean, I could see.
Well, no, she is with Women of Wrestling, but I'm saying
gotcha.
outside of that.
Right.
So, so more to come on that. They didn't really go through a ton of specifics as far as their future goes. I do find it interesting that the same family that they own the Lakers, I think they might own some of Viacom/CBS, which is that's going to be their network backing, if you will. I just find it interesting that that family wants to get into wrestling in general, and maybe they owned it prior to this. I don't know a ton about it. I'll be honest, I didn't do any research at all, really, just aside from everything I saw on Twitter. So we'll see. I mean, it's cool for those that enjoy women's wrestling that they have another option. So to be determined, or not to be determined, to what's the word I'm looking for here? We'll see. We'll,
I don't know.
What
were you looking for?
Let's move on. No, we'll see what happens with this new promotion. So my phone keeps blowing up here. Okay, let's talk about Dynamite last night. I feel like there's a lot of people on social media that raved about the show, saying it was, awesomeness, cool that, which wasn't a bad show. I just don't know. Something seemed off at times. I mean, the opening match, it was a fun, the opening 8-man tag match, it was a fun match, but some execution of moves, timing on it felt weird, a couple of botches. The powerbomb. Sorry, I forgot to ask. Did you watch Dynamite?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The powerbomb botch. I don't know. It just seemed like we're so used to these fun opening matches on Dynamite, and the match kind of felt like this. I can't put my finger on it. It's just a lot of small. You had to have watched the match to know what I'm talking about. Just the timing of it felt like they were trying to rush things at times, and then other things it's like they were dragging. I don't know. Your thoughts?
I mean,
Jeremy says sloppy match. I wouldn't say sloppy, but we're definitely more used to seeing more crisp matches.
It wasn't to a T, that's for sure. And I think that the thought that comes to my mind here is that there's not enough chemistry in this match for this match to really go off, I think, the way that it should have. I mean, you got to think Christian, Bryan Danielson, they've not ever really worked with Adam Cole, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega. That those relationships are still new. Not to mention, they also haven't worked with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, so them as a team.
Let's put it this way. Shout out to a friend of the show, David Tilley. My favorite part of this match, and I posted it on our Twitter, was Marco Stunt getting super kicked to crap. Now, granted, credit to Marco. Part of this sequence is him just selling the super kick. Part of it could also be just the camera angle, but man, that looked rough, and I cracked up hardcore because Marco is super good at selling.
Yeah,
credit to him. He also had a match this past, I think it was the Dark Elevation, where he and I think it was Fuego. He had a match. They had a tag match with Wardlow and Shawn Spears, and Wardlow did this thing, exchange off the ropes, and then he just tossed him up in the air. I'm talking probably 15 feet in the air, and then just brought him down into a power slam. Man, it's fun and funny to watch.
Yeah. What a terrible tag team, by the way. Fuego del Sol and Marcos Stein. But yeah, I felt like the opening match was just not enough chemistry, I think is what it comes down to. And I think the expectation for a match like that with so many names in it expects it to be like just off the wall insane. Which, I mean, we had those spots too, like a 4-man V-trigger is just absolutely insane to even think about, especially with the 4 that were doing it.
And there's no good way to take that move.
The triple super kick that Danielson took was crazy. Like that. There were obviously spots, is my point, that were great, but I would agree with you that seemed off. I felt like some of the storylines just don't seem to make sense to me right now, or feel off. I'm not a big fan of the Darby MJF thing going on right now.
I'm not either, and not to jump ahead, but this is our show. We can do whatever we want. But no, I agree. I think that just felt thrown together. I'm intrigued at it.
Well, haven't they really done it already? Like, wasn't that one of his early on feuds was Darby?
I don't think. And if it was, it didn't last very long. They might have had a match, but and don't get me wrong, guys, I'm a fan of AEW. Obviously my shirt, some memorabilia I've got in my office. You would obviously notice, but yeah, I mean, the match was I will say a decent opener, but I think that's part of it. We're spoiled and used to these insane opening matches that it just felt, even though they've built towards this match, it still felt thrown together from an in-ring standpoint. So that's just me. Another intriguing part to come out of this, I wonder what they're going to do with Christian at this point, because they seemingly just wrote him off. So is he going to take a couple weeks off from wrestling in general and then just stay in Impact for a while, then come back to AEW in a couple months? I don't know. So it looks like you got something to say. You're reading.
I was reading some comments.
Okay.
So someone said.
Well, we can read some comments if we want. Normally we do a fan mail segment, but there's just so much to.
I just read the one that had my name in it. It said Cole is such a fan of AEW that he's yawning talking about it. Which, if you know, it's kind of a little jab at me. I yawn like all the time. So there was actually a show that I couldn't make it on, and Alex got a video of me and just kept playing it on loop of me yawning.
I literally did a solo show, and it was a split screen video like this, but the other half was Cole yawning for 40 minutes.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was just on loop.
So I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what followed that match.
Well, I can tell you, actually.
I mean, I could look it up too, but
I was just looking at it again this morning because I watched it, but then this morning I was like, what did I watch last night? Like I didn't remember everything that happened. So we started with the 8-man tag, and then it was followed by CM Punk coming out to the ring.
Yeah, that promo, setting up the match with Daniel Garcia for tomorrow night, which we'll go through the Rampage card later.
So there was that. Then we get the Arn Anderson was outside Cody Rhodes' house. Followed by the what's interesting is we just had Seth Rollins outside of Edge's house.
Well, here's what's funny. So AEW is really good at these little promos / vignettes, whatever you want to call them. And, having these little Easter eggs in them. So we haven't even talked about this because we haven't had a show since then. So we've had 2 Dynamites air since we were on the air last. So Arn Anderson did this insanely awesome promo last Wednesday on Dynamite, and did a reference to a gun Glock thing, whatever. And then of course it blew up on social media with Brock and Glock Anderson. And anyway,
Right.
So fast forward to last night. Cody comes out walking down the stairs and he says, "What are you going to do, Arn? Are you going to shoot me?" And I'm thinking, well, yeah, he might because of the promo last week. But I don't know how many of you guys noticed this line, but Arn said something along the lines of, "Why don't you just paint a star on your face and then act like everything will be okay?" Or I'm paraphrasing, but I love how AEW. And I don't think they're throwing shade at WWE. They enjoy throwing these little Easter eggs for wrestling fans just because so we can have fun with it.
Right.
Anyway, so 2 straight weeks of this Cody Arn segment, which I'm actually intrigued by now. I don't think we're going to get a Cody heel turn anytime soon. I think if you're hoping for that, you're going to be disappointed in the end. If I'm wrong, cool, whatever. We'll see. And then after that, didn't we get the?
Well, I wanted to make a little side note.
Yeah, go for it.
Just because it does kind of include AEW in this too. I just wanted to mention during the Seth Rollins Edge segment on SmackDown, Edge names 2 names of he's sending them over to the house, and then the real life names of FTR,
Daniel and David.
And so
I
thought it was interesting that kind of WWE let that little Easter egg slide in a sense because they try not to reference just about anybody. So obviously they didn't get to reference their new personas.
Yeah,
but the fact that they were allowed to be referenced at all was interesting.
I thought it was cool. Yeah.
But so we got the segment with Arn. He slapped Cody in the face, told him that you threw us away. It's like, what a sad romantic story.
It did feel very soap opera-ish at that
You
point.
threw us away. And then we get what was probably actually my favorite match of the night. Not my favorite moment of the night, but my favorite match of the night. I was so pumped for this. TNT champion, Spanish guy.
New TNT champion.
Yes.
Because again, we haven't been on since
it happened.
We're talking 2 weeks of Dynamite here, basically.
So our new TNT champion, which by the way, the belt that he has looks great.
I think it's the best version of the TNT belt that they've had.
I'm loving his belt. Spanish God, Sammy Guevara. I thought this was the right call for him to be champion. I thought Rusev or Miro, whatever you want to call him, I thought his run was just bland.
I'm surprised they pulled the trigger this early. I thought they'd have another.
I think it was smart. I think they.
No, I agree. I mean, in hindsight, I think it was the right call, but I think
nonetheless, if they're going to use him, he's going to have to just get built in such a way that it's kind of like a Brock Lesnar kind of mindset with him, though, that he's just no one's going to be able to beat him. He's going to have to be put into the title picture. Like, I just don't think it was fitting, and they need to get rid of this whole the Redeemer. They honestly, they need to bring Lana in and let her talk for him.
That was a good accent, by the way.
Yeah, I can't I can't do it anymore. I'm sorry, he is so bad on the mic. I'm getting burnt on him, and I don't want to because in the ring he's great, but all of these vignettes and promos he's cut, I'm like, stop talking about your hot wife and. For some reason telling me that you're the Redeemer, which I don't even know where that's out of left field. You went from the game or the game over or this video game.
Well, he went from the best man to some gaming persona.
Game on was, I think it's his finisher, or I don't know, but he's changed like 7 personas already. And I'm like, you're going through more storylines here than you were WWE. Like you keep switching. So
well, credit to AEW. I think they're trying to figure out what works, and if something doesn't work, they try something different.
It's him talking. So
that too.
They need to get him a manager. If it's not going to be, maybe it's Chavo Guerrero since he's freed up now, and you give him somebody who can talk on the mic.
I wouldn't be surprised if Lana does come in, just because she's teased through media appearances and other shows that she's done. She actually owns the Lana name. WWE does not own that.
Right.
B, even if she does, I think they should ditch it altogether. Just come in as CJ Perry, be you, and just anyway. And then the second thing is she did a specific appearance within the last week. I forgot who it was with, but she basically was asked, and I'm paraphrasing, what's next, or where are we going to see you next, or the question might have actually specifically said, will you end up in AEW or something like that? And her response was, and again, I'm paraphrasing, stay tuned or something along those lines. I can't give away specifics, yada, yada, yada.
Right. I think that's just going to be the best call. But then last night, we got Spanish God Sammy Guevara versus Bobby Fish,
who is now signed to All Elite Wrestling, jumping the gun a little bit.
Yeah, I'm
which I called it though, because if you go back and watch that promo graphic from the week before,
there was his
shirt had the AEW logo on it, which they actually just released that in Pro Wrestling Tees last night.
It was a good catch. It was because it was blurred enough that like you weren't sure if it was it, but it definitely had the resemblance of their AEW logo.
And I feel like that was this is the first thing that I was just like, because people will I don't want to say dirt sheet websites, but other wrestling websites and media outlets and things like that will like catch things and report things or whatever. I feel like this is the first time I caught something. Not that I caught it before anyone else did, but I caught it before I saw anybody else like saying anything about it or reporting on it. I'm just like, oh, I feel really vilified right now.
So the match was great. I thought this was probably the best match of the night. I enjoyed it.
I will agree. And not jumping the gun, but I feel like the main event match, which we'll talk about, was a lot of spots, kind of a spot fest.
It was definitely saved for the reveal more than it was trying to have the best match. And so I love this match. Obviously, I'm a Bobby Fish fan. I
am too.
I don't really know why. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, it's not like he cuts like these amazing promos. His in-ring ability is obviously great, but and I'm actually gonna tell you what did it for me. It wasn't actually anything he really did, but what he was a part of when Matt Riddle did the "How much fish can Bobby Fish fry?" Like, I was on board ever since, and so I'm interested to see what they do with him. He is one of those names I'll say that it makes me nervous that he's on AEW because I don't know where he fits in there yet.
So I'm going to address three things real quick. So backing up, Jamie says Meltzer saw it first. He's omnipotent. If he really did see it first, I didn't see him saying anything about it or reporting on it. But at the same time, I don't stay up to date with his social media platforms and this and that. Mark says now O'Reilly needs to go to AEW to join back up with Bobby Fish. I feel like that would be the best option for him in terms of long-term booking, and his long-term success in AEW is if Kyle O'Reilly does go back and reform Red Dragon. Don't know what Kyle O'Reilly's contract's like. Don't know how close that would even be to happening, if it will even ever happen, but I don't know. But then Alexander says Bobby Fish is another 40-plus guy. I don't see any point in AEW. For the time being, I think he is largely as a mentor backstage guy, although I think we will see him have matches, and obviously last night we'll see him have good matches. It's not that he can't go in the ring, because he can. It's not that he can't do singles matches, because he can. I agree with you, though. I think it's just AEW so overloaded at this point that his best chance of long-term success in the long term, I'm going to phrase it correctly, is in a tag team, specifically in Red Dragon, if Kyle O'Reilly ever were to make that jump.
See, I guess my thought initially was...
Got you, Jamie. We're on the same page.
Is that I think Bobby Fish would have been a better fit, in my opinion, for Impact. And the reason why I say that is Alex...
I liked him in MLW.
Alexander... not Alexander. What's his name?
In Impact?
The X Division champ that just did Option C. Josh Alexander.
Josh Alexander.
I knew I had Alexander right.
Yeah.
Josh Alexander just forfeited the X Division title for Option C to fight Christian Cage. So I'm like, hey, the X Division title's open. They're going to be doing a tournament for it. Why not bring Bobby Fish in for that? Have him be your X Division champ for a while. Good for TV, good for Impact. He can still do the Forbidden Door, do some AEW stuff, do the X Division title, then do Option C at some point, cash in, be Impact's champion for a while he doesn't have a tag partner, because I think Bobby Fish is one of those guys that I hate to say is more destined for tag team greatness. I think that's just the mold. And then, if for some reason we get Kyle O'Reilly back, or if for some reason there's a Roderick Strong at some point that comes back, or the Adam Cole turns and we get Adam Cole and Bobby Fish back together at some point.
Someone on the chat thread said something about Bobby Fish helping Adam Cole with turning on the Elite. I think what's going to happen, not to get off topic too much, but once Adam Cole and the Elite split, which is going to happen, it's inevitable because Adam Cole is still getting the loudest pops and babyface reaction, even though he's a heel or supposed to be. Give it 6 months, and I think Adam Cole will. I think they will turn on Adam Cole.
Yeah.
And in that regard, I mean, you could have that connection in storyline where the Elite turn on and Bobby Fish could come out, try to help him, but then get beat down himself. And I mean, I'd be okay with it, but I just think that, I mean, I get that they're friends, but I feel like Undisputed Era needs to be in the rearview mirror for both of them and anyone else that would, possibly make the jump to AEW. Don't think Roderick Strong will, at least not anytime soon. If Kyle O'Reilly does, I think he needs to reform Red Dragon with Bobby Fish and then just leave it at that.
My only nervous thing, this is what I was trying to allude to. My only nervous thing is the mindset of we might get Kyle O'Reilly at some point is that I really think you're going to see Kyle O'Reilly get pushed in the singles here in WWE.
Oh, probably.
That's NXT or if they end up moving him up, which we'll talk about more down the road here. But I was more like, okay, maybe this is Bobby Fish's time to also pursue a singles career. Because if you think about it, Roderick Strong, even though he's the kind of the lead of a faction, he's pursuing a singles career. Kyle O'Reilly is pursuing a singles career. Adam Cole obviously pursuing a singles career. He's not with his normal group that we've used to seeing. And then now there's Bobby Fish. And so that's where I was like, okay, maybe to separate him a little bit away from the talks of Adam Cole and him together and all this stuff, is I would have said, someone said Trey Miguel as a tag team for him in Impact. I would have thought maybe Chris Sabin, just because Alex Shelley's still not back. Chris Sabin and him kind of came up the ranks together too. Maybe that would be an interesting tag team dynamic as Sabin and Fish.
So for what it's worth, Alex Shelley is done with Impact.
Right, but the Forbidden Door is always there.
No, I know.
They could have went into Motor City Machine Guns just about anywhere. So, I don't know. Actually, I like that. Brian Steele says Fish and Danielson could have been a good tag team. And maybe we get a Bobby Fish, Brian. So we get Brian Danielson away from the title picture every single week and have to have him, always fighting for a singles title. Maybe Fish and Brian, or Danielson would be something to consider. So, but yeah, I'm not sure exactly what they need to do with him, but it does kind of concern me that he's there when I still feel like he might have about 5 years of great wrestling still in him.
Yeah.
To waste, I don't want to say waste, but to put it in a company that he probably will never get that kind of a push at this point in time with all of the names that are there right now.
Let's kind of breeze through some of the rest of the card, and I want to talk about the main event a little bit. This is not going in any particular order because this is just.
So at the end of the Sammy Guevara match, which obviously Sammy won.
Yeah, they had America's top team, blah, blah, blah.
Attack him. We have them set up for the Florida show to fight each other. Tony Schiavone was in the ring with Aubrey Edwards, and we got the announcement of the TBS championship, which actually that was first reported by Andrew Zarian of Mat Men. And look, great belt. I think the belt looks awesome. I think I've seen mixed reviews or mixed reactions to it. Personally, I like it. I mean, if you're going to have a TNT championship, the TBS championship belt is going to look similar. I think a lot of people's beef with it's like, well, they're just doing what WWE does. No, because all of WWE's belts look the same, at least in terms of their main card belts. Right. I mean, you've got I'm trying to think of how many of them have that. Let me think. So you've got 4 belts, men's and women's, that have that WWE logo in the center.
With
the color of the brand.
Yeah, and it's okay. I get your comparison, but this is the only time that AEW's done this so far. I mean, small sample size. I mean, you've got their tag belts that look the same. And I mean, for now, until they change them, the men's and women's NXT belts look the same. Their tag belts look the same, and NXT's tag belts look the same. So, look, I get it, but I don't think this is going to be a trend. I think it's just because you've got specific branding. The same person owns TNT and TBS, or the same group or whatever. So they're probably going to want their belts to look fairly similar with the network logos across the front. It's just, and I think it comes down to smart marketing, because if you're used to seeing that TNT belt with the TNT logo across it, you're going to at first think of that belt when you see the TBS belt, but it's like, oh wait, that's a different logo. That's TBS. Oh, okay, I get it. Like, they're not doing it to, and this is something else I saw on social media, they're not doing it to throw shade at WWE or to make fun of them. I think it is specifically for marketing purposes, and I wouldn't be shocked if Tony Khan or whoever else really didn't have much say in terms of, or at least not a final say in terms of what the TBS belt looked like. And frankly, I don't even know if they would care. That's just me, but I'm okay with it. I like it.
I think the belt looks good. I think the announcement seems a little premature, though, because they're not doing anything with it until next year.
Did they say that? I missed that part.
Yeah, I went back and double checked. You know, I'm reading through the card here.
No, you might be right.
It even says right here that the TBS Championship is coming to AEW Women's Division when AEW Dynamite moves to the TBS network starting January 5th.
But are they going to wait? Are they going to have like a tournament to culminate on that date, or
Yes,
are they?
There's going to be a tournament.
Here,
referee Aubrey Edwards unveiled the TBS Championship, which will be decided in a women's tournament next year.
So the tournament won't start till next year.
Yeah, probably starting on January 5th.
That is interesting,
and probably we'll get a winner at Revolution. I would assume the tournament will be like a weekly thing, and at Revolution will be when we crown our first TBS Women's Champion. The two interesting thoughts for me is, and I'm actually going to answer somebody's question that they asked in the chat. First off, I don't really know what a mid-card women's belt looks like, you know, as far as storyline and kind of who fits that mold versus in most major companies, we've always only had.
I love some of these comments because of that picture you showed me earlier before we went live.
Oh, right. So like we're only used to having one women's belt in a sense, right? Where everyone's fighting for that one. So now
regardless of promotion.
Right. So now what does it look like to have one? I would have to say that the AEW women's belt's going to need an overhaul and look, because I think the TBS belt looks better. So I kind of like, okay, that one almost looks more desirable to me than your world champion. But regardless, somebody asked, you know, do we think who's the first winner? Do we think it's Ruby Soho? I would even venture to say it may be someone who's not signed right now.
Huh.
I'm not saying that I know a name. I'm just saying it wouldn't shock me if the winner of that belt is actually a joker or a wild card or some kind of swerve that we weren't expecting. If we're going to say it's somebody in the current division now, I would actually think maybe Jade Cargill.
Thunder Rosa would be my
Thunder
vote.
Rosa would be a good one. The way they're booking Serena Deeb now, maybe Serena Deeb.
Which that was a good match last night, too.
Yeah.
I was actually really impressed with that.
So there's that. Obviously, there's always some of the former champions as well. Riho, Nyla Rose. Obviously Ruby Soho could be in that conversation as well.
You can throw Sheeta in that conversation.
Sheeta in that conversation. So
you can even throw Brandy in the conversation whenever she comes back to wrestling.
Yeah.
So
there's obviously some other names, but I almost could say that it might be somebody
not around yet.
That's not around yet.
I mean, we got so much we could talk about, guys. I want to
jump straight to the main event.
Let's jump. Yeah, I mean, we're 40 minutes into the podcast already, so let's talk about the main event a little bit. I mean, we can even fast forward to the end. So we get Hangman Page as the Joker. Hangman Page wins the match. Like we said, I thought the match was okay, but just a lot of spots with ladders and tables, and honestly, nothing we haven't seen already. I'm just I think AEW is getting to the point, and we've alluded to this before, that they've done it so much you almost expected it to not be Hangman Page because that would be too easy. Like you almost, and we talked about it in our little chat thread we have with our buddy Austin, but I threw out some names that it could be, just because, or actually, we all threw out names, but I don't remember exactly who threw out what names, but Jay White was thrown around, Will Ospreay was thrown around. I even threw out Marty Scurll. Just I said it was unlikely, but it's almost underwhelming that it was Hangman Page just because that was the expected name. But at the same time, in hindsight, it's not like it was on a pay-per-view, so
I would say that I'm not underwhelmed because it was his name and that's who came out. I'm more underwhelmed because I don't think he needed the Joker and the poker chip to get his title shot. Yeah. Is that I kind of feel like the match as far as getting somebody, and I kind of like this, I always say this with the Money in the Bank, but I'm kind of like this with any time there's a championship opportunity on the line and it's like a ladder match with like 6 people in it. That is the best time to have someone unlikely win because it's right place, right time, not necessarily I got this pin over somebody that I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And so looking at some of the names in the match, like there were other names that I felt like have kind of been overshadowed or overlooked that maybe we could have saw. I would have made an argument for Pac. I would have made an argument for Andrade.
I would have made an argument for just about everybody in some way, shape, or form except Moxley.
Just because Moxley really doesn't need it. I could even have said Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
And like a cheap cheating way of getting him into the title shot, knowing that he's not going to win it, but just to kind of keep us on our toes. So when Adam Hangman Page came out, I was happy, I was excited because it tells me they're about to capitalize.
Yeah, and
on Kenny losing the belt,
and it needs to happen. I saw this on social media. This is not my original idea, but it makes 100% sense. I 100% agree with it. It needs to happen at Full Gear, just because the name Full Gear is named after Hangman Page. If you watch Being the Elite, if you followed it, this and that, like there's a gag back in the day where, I think they show up at like a store or a gas station or something like that. And the gag is, the joke is he shows up in his gear. Like everyone else is wearing street clothes, but shows up in his grocery store or something. Shows up in his gear, and everyone's just like, oh, Full Gear, huh? And that's where the name came from. So at this point, from I don't want to say an insider standpoint, but if you follow and watch other AEW related content like Being the Elite, Sammy Guevara has a vlog, there are, again, little Easter eggs or big ones, whatever you want to look at it, that stuff like that makes me think that they need to pull the trigger on it a Full Gear, and I actually think they will. But they don't have a lot of time to build this. They got a month left. So we'll see.
Just brought up a good point, though, that their next show is in Norfolk, Virginia, which is where he's from. So
this is a good point. I thought they would have saved his return for that.
Yeah, but I think him having the championship title shot now with him coming out will also get him a big pop, knowing that he's going to be going for a title shot.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. That they could have saved this match for
one more week.
Yeah,
right.
And I don't know why they. I mean, just because it's Philadelphia, because it's a bigger market. I don't really know.
I think they wanted to do something maybe weapons related because it's Philly.
I mean, that could be it too.
And the ladder match kind of with the table and the SWAT as well.
And it could have just been for smart Mark fans like me that would have assumed, oh no, he'll probably show up at the Norfolk show, and then anyway, whatever.
Right.
Let's see. Man, we're 45 minutes in. We gotta get rolling here. So let's change gears a little bit. No pun intended. We're gonna talk the WWE Draft. So we're not gonna recap the entire draft. But Cole threw out an interesting idea to me, and I want to go through this. So we were actually going to recap the draft, which is why it says WWE Draft Recap. But rather than recap the entire draft, why don't you throw out the idea? Why don't you lead in with it, and then we'll.
So I had this idea that every year when we do the draft, there's always a handful of guys and girls who get drafted right back to the brand that they were on. And for the most part, it's usually safe picks, throughout. And so, but there's always, in my opinion, like 3 or 4 people on each brand that were really interesting, and I think that's a really good shakeup for those specific people to get them in prominent storylines, prominent positions, to kind of reboot them, reset them so they can succeed. This year we had another angle to this because we also included, I didn't know if they were going to include NXT in this. So with the NXT 2.0 thing, I was like, oh, if they do include this, it's going to be to get some of the...
Sorry, real quick. I meant to bring this up before we let in with this. Did you guys see the social media thing? I was on Twitter specifically. So if you follow Brandon Thurston, he's WrestleNomics guy, I think. Runs numbers and a lot of metrics and data and things. It's really fascinating, really interesting. But the whole NXT 2.0 rebranding was supposed to be geared towards that 18 to 49 demographic and appealing to that more, trying to get the ratings up for that more. The median age for this past week's NXT 2.0 was 64 years old, I think. It was in the 60s.
Wow.
The median age was 64 years old. Actually, I don't want to paraphrase. I want to get the exact number.
I wonder if that's because everyone's hearing about Steiner and wanting to see, what Steiner's son is all about.
But still, I mean, that is... I got to pull it up. 62 years old. I'm sorry. Median age for NXT last night, the highest for any WWE show, at least in recent months. 62 years old. Also, they're actually losing women in that 18 to 49 demographic. They're losing women viewers. So, I don't know. Okay, back to the draft. I wanted to show that out there.
So back to the draft. We added NXT in this, and so I wanted to note this first. Pretty much all of the NXT drafts that made it into this draft shocked me. Out of all the names that I could have saw drafted, I'm gonna run through on these because I don't know. I don't want to spoil it for you. My idea was for me and Alex to maybe both pick 3, maybe 4 names on both SmackDown and Raw each that being drafted back to that show or being drafted to the show, why that's going to be a good thing for them, why that fits them, what's going to come out good for them, why that's a good move, and how it's going to help them. But before we do that, I want to just mention some of the NXT names that got drafted here that kind of shocked me. So let me scan through my list here. Austin Theory, who was already called up once, sent back down, and then recalled back up. Austin Theory was brought back up, and I kind of am worried about him because I thought he was really good on NXT with the way. But
100% agree. This is a stupid move.
Because he had the way. I don't know how he's going to do without them. So there was him. There is... here's an interesting one. Gable Steveson, the Olympian who's never wrestled in his entire life, not going to go through NXT at all, and is going to go straight to the main roster. And then making sure girls. This was on Raw.
I think that's it for Raw.
Okay. And then SmackDown, we got a hit row, Isaiah Scott, which this was the big rumored one I had heard about. We got all of them: Isaiah Scott, Top Dollar, Ashanti Adonis, and what is her name? B-Fab. We got hit row. This one shocked me, just because now I feel like we know Santos Escobar is going to win the North American title next week on NXT. But number 2, other than Isaiah Swerve Scott, I don't know if the other 3 are ready for maybe the 2 other guys as far as a tag team, like to be put into the tag division.
I don't know if Swerve Scott's ready. All due
Swerve
respect to him.
Scott, to me, like peaks at a mid card right now. If he would ever have won the not the North American title, the main title on NXT, especially in this new rebranded 2.0, I think that's very possible. I could easily believe him to be a top guy in the company. But right now, I'm kind of like, the most I could ever see him is a Money in the Bank winner to get into that picture.
I don't even see that.
Outside of that,
not right now anyway.
Long shot, you know what I mean? Like outside of that, I see him peaking at a mid card, that's this specific one kind of shocked me. We also got Ridge Holland, which I know he fits the build, but that one shocked me. And then we got, I already said B-Fab, Xia Li. Mm-hmm. Aaliyah, I technically, I think, was already called up. Technically, right? She was brought up to Raw, but just never used.
I believe so.
So we got Xia Li. Those are the NXT call-ups, if you will, the NXT signings that we got. And I was like, wow, like mind blown that we didn't get a Kyle O'Reilly, which seems like they have nothing for him to do in NXT right now. I know Tommaso Ciampa's the new champion, but I think there were other names, even women. We saw no Dakota Kai.
Here's a hot take for you, and this could all depend on the contract situation. I know Jamie alluded to this in the chat thread. I don't think I posted this on our social media pages, but I told you and Austin about it. Johnny Gargano's removed all mentions of NXT from his social media platforms. So this kind of depends on that, but I would have brought up the Way as a group before I would have brought up Hit Row.
I mean, here, if you think about it, the Way gives you everything, right? The Way gives you when Candice LeRae returns from her pregnancy, you have a women's tag team to go in the women's tag division. Not to mention, you technically could even sell Candice LeRae as a women's singles.
Which, by the way, jumping the gun a little bit, there are no more women's tag teams left on the main roster. None. They split up all of them.
Yep.
They split up every single existing women's tag team on Raw and SmackDown. There are none left.
Outside of the actual champions.
Outside of the actual champions, there are none left.
Yep. So that's interesting in itself. But again, we go back to, we're looking at it. I'm just confused. I would have said that Johnny Gargano could have been a top guy. You have Austin Theory, who could have been a mid card. You have this women's tag team. If you didn't want to use Johnny and Austin in any singles, you have a tag team out of that. There's just so many ways you could have used them. I also would have said this. I almost could have brought up Legado del Fantasma before I brought up Hit Row, because I think there's more to do with them than Hit Row. But
Hit Row's not ready, in my opinion.
Outside of all of that, I was just shocked by some of the names. Even looking at the women's division, some of the names that Ember Moon, I thought, should have probably got moved out of NXT. She doesn't really fit the mold there right now, in my opinion. And so just some different names. Also, I know she's tag champ right now, but Io Shirai. I was like, your women's division could have this major overhaul and just be so dominant right now, and then you could allow NXT to build up new women as well, but nah, we're just going to do this. So I wanted to note that before we get into this, that the NXT signings or drafts were like, I think out of left field for me.
Surprising and lackluster.
Outside of Ridge Holland, because at least he fits the build of what I know McMahon wants, I think they're going to try to do with him, obviously not the same storyline, but do with him what they were trying to do with Lars Sullivan and just bring in this really big guy that's just going to wreak havoc on everybody. But outside of that, I was kind of like, I don't know if any of these other people have really done enough for me to be like, yeah, I think you're going to do great here. I know they've called other people, like Lacey Evans, never won a title, wasn't really very big on NXT as far as any major accomplishments, but then got brought up and was used just fine, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of those, too, in all fairness. I mean, Alexa Bliss has done a lot better on the main roster than she ever did in NXT. So
I would have made the argument that you could have brought Pete Dunne and Rich Holland in together.
Yeah.
You have a tag team there. You have single stars there. You have kind of a faction that could be built. Pete Dunne just signed a big deal. I don't know. I was just kind of shocked by all this, I guess. So with all that being said, our idea right now is that I want us to look at Raw and I want us to look at SmackDown, pick, let's say between three. If you have four, great, but if not, let's pick 3 or 4, and I'll even spice it up just a little bit for you. You can either pick 3 or 4 that you think this is a really good move for them, or if you want to talk about somebody that it was just a terrible move for them, I think it's a really bad idea for them, you can even talk about how that draft pick was a terrible idea. So 3 or 4 names. We can kind of spitball back and forth. Let's start with Raw, and we'll both go back and forth on Raw first.
Okay.
And pick a name, and I'll give you a name first. So let me roll through here and see.
And by the way, guys, this is not this is just complete spitballing. We're like, this part isn't planned. We're just picking a name and talking about it.
All right. So my first name that I'm going to focus on is Kevin Owens. I think Kevin Owens coming to Raw is a really great fit because there's a ceiling in SmackDown right now. Raw, I don't feel like there's a ceiling because there's no Bobby Lashley anymore. They're, as far as, you know, being the main champion. And
well, let's just say it. Roman Reigns kind of creates a ceiling just by default because there are only a certain number of people that you could ever see Roman Reigns dropping the championship to.
Right. And when he drops, he's still instantly going to always kind of be roaming in the main title picture.
Right.
Wherever he is. But I think Kevin Owens, you know, he obviously had the good feud with Roman, but I think Kevin Owens has a better chance of being mid-card or main-card champion on Raw right now than I saw on SmackDown. So I like Kevin Owens. If it was up to me, I don't want Kevin Owens to leave WWE because, again, it's another name that I think is just too many names. I'm always going to make that argument. It's not that I hate AEW and I don't want AEW to succeed. It's that I want wrestlers I like to have prominent storylines and to be used correctly. And I don't know if that would happen in AEW with all the names that I keep seeing going there and rumored to go there and all this stuff. So
real quick, and if it seems like Cole and I are reading comments more, it's because we're not doing our fan mail segment today. But Robert Stokes with the hot take of the day. The draft was like a stomach cramp followed by a fart, all sound and fury signifying nothing.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
For the most part. So
there are a couple of...
But my first one was Kevin Owens. I think that's a good move to move him to Raw. I think we will probably instantly see him around the title, the mid-card title. But I honestly think he might do a heel turn. I think that could be good for him. A heel turn versus him and Damian Priest. I think Kevin Owens versus Damian Priest really intrigues me, especially if that's like a Royal Rumble match. You know, something they build towards. I could get down with that. Or a Kevin Owens heel turn and Kevin Owens versus Big E. I don't know. I either way, I think him as a heel, he wins the belt. I think that would be good for business. So I'm liking it.
Okay. Did you want me to talk about Kevin Owens, or are you just?
No, I'm saying unless he's a name that you also agree with. But
no. I mean, I like that take. So I'll just jump the gun a little bit. I think Raw got the better deal on the draft. Like coming out of the draft, I think Raw looks better, which is good because overall lately SmackDowns have been better than Raw. But now I'm wondering if it's going to be a shifting to where Raw is better, but now SmackDown's going to suck.
Or they're hoping that Raw's talent will match SmackDown's storytelling.
I hope so. So Seth Rollins gets switched over to Raw. I like it just because of the change of scenery, but I selfishly hope they ditch this gimmick.
Drip God.
No, I mean, I like that part of it, but just I hate his theme music. I don't like the...
They need something that fits the Drip God thing.
He can still be a heel, but yeah, I don't know. They need to do something, but anyway, I kind of hope that this change over to Raw will initiate some form of not a rebrand, but just a tweak, I guess is the best way to put it. But in terms of booking, he's one of those guys, he could be on either brand and you can do whatever you want with him. He'd fit in the main card title picture, he'd fit in the mid card. You can even throw somebody with him and put him in the tag title picture, and you know, you're off to the races. So I do like taking him off SmackDown as well. It's just one of those intangible things. I've always seen him as a Raw guy. And didn't he go to SmackDown in last year's draft? Or did I make that up?
Yeah, he went to SmackDown last year.
I don't think he's been on SmackDown for that long. So he's just one of those guys that I just think Raw is a better fit for him. Maybe not in terms necessarily of potential matches and the roster in general, but he just, again, just that intangible, he just seems like he fits better on Raw. I don't know. I like that move. So
I like the take. I will say kudos to them for keeping Seth Rollins out of any title picture for an entire year.
Yeah, and it was still
and keeping him somewhat relevant.
Yeah.
On SmackDown. So
and I get part of the move was because they moved Becky over as well. So
now my only question on him is, do you think they do a face turn with him at some point?
I would be surprised if they do. I don't think it's immediate, but
because if he can hold on to this drip guy gimmick, I really think it could be a really good face gimmick too.
It'd be similar to, I wouldn't say a face turn, but like a tweener kind of thing, like the Way has been doing,
right?
Something like that.
So okay, cool. Well, the next thing that I have to bring up, just because after I saw this specific tweet, I was like, yep, I hope we capitalize all the way on this. Finn Balor.
Which no one's.
Someone did mention it.
Oh, did they?
Early
Okay.
on. Someone mentioned it.
The Horseman flag has been retired, so.
So Finn Balor gets drafted to Raw, which means I have to address another name. AJ Styles and Omos are still on Raw. And there was a tweet that was put out by AJ Styles, which is this is kind of outside of a heel move of what he kind of did. He said, "I don't really like a whole lot of people, but I like you." And then we get a retweet back. We get a response from Finn Balor saying, and he said, "Welcome to Raw" or whatever. And he gets a retweet back from Finn Balor saying, "Good to see you," or
something like that.
"Glad to be here," something like that. So. What if, again, two major stars, we can always bring them into the main title picture. We can always bring them into the mid-card picture. But
I'm gonna laugh if I was gonna talk about Balor as well. I'm gonna laugh if you're gonna say the same thing.
But what if we get a kind of a club reunion and we get a tag team champions of AJ Styles, Finn Balor together? You can keep Omos with them. I'm okay with Omos being with them. Omos can be their bodyguard, but what if at some point they turn on Omos?
Yep. That's exactly what I was going to say.
This is how you get Omos kind of over. You get him off of AJ Styles, let him go do his own thing, and then you get the club for a while, and then eventually we build towards a Finn versus AJ at some pay-per-view because one turned on the other, and it builds one of them up for another main card title push. Hopefully it would be Finn Balor in that regard. AJ's kind of had his turn, I think. I think Finn's always kind of been robbed of the big one. But I love it. I love the Finn Balor move to Raw. I love the teases there, and I'm hoping we capitalize on it. I would say let them be tag champs. I would say then turn on Omos, and then
Omos,
and then
Amos,
and do that storyline, and maybe even do a storyline where they're the tag champs and Omos challenges by himself against them too. That would be hilarious. And then after they finish that storyline, then they start to, whenever they drop the titles, they start to kind of get on the other, and then we build towards Finn versus AJ, maybe at WrestleMania.
So here's my thought. You remember a few years ago where they teased for the longest? No. So where they teased for the longest time, whenever DX was going to reform. I want to say this is mid 2000s. They teased it for what seemed like months, and this is when Triple H was still a heel, Shawn Michaels is a face, but they still kind of teased it. They dropped hints during matches, and they finally, reformed them when they were doing their feud with Spirit Squad and this and that. They should tease this for weeks and weeks and weeks before they actually pull it off. You can do something to where almost you can do this in two parts. Almost is kind of like teasing a heel turn, or not a heel turn, turning on AJ, I guess, or leaving him on his own during tag matches. But then at the same time, AJ and Finn will be doing subtle hints in their matches, like throwing up the Too Sweets sign and things like that. Tease that for a while, but then finally we would get a payoff if Almost attacked AJ, then Finn comes out, then we get that.
And you're going to turn him face?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
But
I'm not against it. I'm just saying it's an interesting dynamic for sure.
Well, if you're not going to have Almost with them, I think this should be a face tag team. If you are going to keep Almost with them, then sure.
See, my
heel tag team all the way. And someone even said this. Jamie Waldrop said Almost is the new Bad Luck Fale in New Japan. I'd be on board with that. But if they're going to be a heel tag team, keep Almost with them. If they're not, get rid of him.
My thing is, if you're going to ever push Omos as a single star off jump, he's going to have to be a face. I don't know if you can get him over as a heel right now. Not a good one.
I don't think he'd be a good.
He's not good on the mic. So as a face, you could kind of teach him to say the cliche things at least.
Well, that's my flaw in the splitting him off from the tag team or splitting him off from AJ is that I don't think he'd be good no matter what by himself, face or heel.
Now, could they move him to a different superstar though? From getting him off AJ and he goes and works for somebody else.
They could. I mean, you just take him off TV for a while,
bring him back as I don't know. I'm looking at some of the names here. I'm not sure if I see one, unless you're going to add him to the Hurt Business. But I don't know. But yeah, Finn Balor for me. That's my second one.
I mean, I guess you could. Well, no, I'm not even going to say that one. That would actually just be awful. But yeah, I don't know who you would put him with. I mean, which by the way, this was just a travesty that. In terms of, I get that they didn't move anywhere, they didn't switch brands, but you have the Hurt Business from a draft standpoint, not even during the actual draft. Like they're announced after the fact on these
the lackeys.
Yeah,
the
I'm like, really? Like you just reformed them, and now it's like, oh, by the way, Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander are staying on Raw. By the way, anyway, let's do two more, and we probably should.
Switch over to SmackDown.
All right, so I'll go first on this one. So, and I'm trying to pick ones that switched brands,
right?
Which I assumed was the goal.
Yep.
Jeff Hardy to SmackDown. I am on board with this if whatever this new ego he was teasing actually happens. And it wasn't just blowing smoke, no pun intended.
We're talking Willow, right?
Something along those lines. I don't know if he'd actually use Willow because at that point it would become WWE intellectual property. I'm assuming
unless he owns the right to the name.
Jeff Hardy does own it, but that's what I'm saying. If they were to use it, he'd probably have to, basically have to tell WWE, yeah, you own the rights to it now, blah 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 blah. And I don't think Jeff Hardy wants to do that. I wouldn't be surprised if we get something like it, but I don't think it would be Willow. But if we get a unique Jeff Hardy, for lack of a better way of putting it, I'm behind it. I think the brand switch, just as a change of scenery, is going to be good as well. As far as him being any title picture, I mean, I guess he's someone else you could feed to Roman in the meantime.
I would make that argument.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see it happen, but
just because there's always going to be that tease that he could win too.
Willard.
and
I love it.
So I'm kind of hoping they do utilize him and kind of get him into the main title picture somehow. Not necessarily to win, but to at least give him something to do. So I like the Jeff Hardy one. You already know who I'm about to say to start this off.
Yeah.
Ricochet.
Yep.
I'm excited that he's moved to SmackDown because, again, a change of scenery means that usually the names that they highlight on the show are names that they're going to try to use somehow.
I am actually surprised he was on the draft.
Every draft has boomer bust,
Sure.
And I think in this regard, they're looking at Ricochet as a boomer bust guy on the SmackDown.
Keep talking. I'll be right back, guys.
On the SmackDown draft. So I'm excited about Ricochet because Ricochet could fit into a lot of places on this roster, one of which would be obviously the mid card. I think is the more likely of the spots for him, but putting him in the mid card, him versus Nakamura, could be fun to watch. Could be interesting. Wouldn't mind seeing Ricochet get an Intercontinental Championship title run. He's obviously been U.S. champ, so we can start to kind of build his resume, if you will, a little bit. I wouldn't mind seeing him as IC champ. I wish I could, guys. I don't have any control of the videos. Otherwise, I'd put something of Alex up. But I kind of like the idea of Ricochet being Intercontinental champion. So that would be intriguing. But honestly, I would be okay with Ricochet. I like the King of the Ring idea. Chris, King Ricochet, bring back that persona. I actually talked about that last year, I think, or 2 years ago when they did the King of the Ring tournament. And I was like, I'm I'm kind of hoping they kind of switch him to the King Ricochet persona, which, again, with that tournament starting, if he's in that tournament, the best way to kind of get him on a run would be to have him win the King of the Ring tournament. So Alex has come back in. So someone mentioned, so we're talking Ricochet still.
Sorry about that, guys.
Somebody mentioned, I'm saying I wouldn't mind seeing them start to build Ricochet's resume. So IC champ, he's already been US champ. We could see him become Intercontinental champ. A match versus him and Nakamura could be really fun to watch. But I think if you really wanted to build up, and Chris Poshak said this, if you really wanted to build him up, we talked about this 2 years ago about Ricochet switching to his King Ricochet gimmick.
Yeah.
King of the Ring is right now. He could be in the tournament. The way you start him and build him up is you have him win King of the Ring. And then he's King Ricochet. And
Jamie with the hot dropping the bomb.
So then you get King Ricochet. Who is the king right now on SmackDown? King Nakamura. So you have King Ricochet versus King Nakamura for the IC Championship. I don't know if they'll have Nakamura drop that persona once the new one is crowned or not, but that's a dual storyline right there. Right out the bat, then you go right into Ricochet wins the IC title, and the match is also for rights to who's the rightful king. Nakamura has to drop the king's shtick or whatever and go back to just being Shinsuke Nakamura, and you get all that. Then once Ricochet drops, at some point, you could build Ricochet up for that main title run at some point. Whether he's the guy to dethrone Roman or if it's after Roman is dethroned, either way, I'm good with it. But I think this is the perfect opportunity on SmackDown where there's a little bit more going on to really capitalize on Ricochet now. So I'm hoping I'm keeping a positive mindset that it's going to go good for him. So
cool.
One more each.
I'll let you do one more, but we really should probably get going. So one more.
Let's look. No, we haven't.
And mine wasn't going to take long. That's why I'm just going to have you go, because I was just going to talk about Charlotte, but I mean that's kind of self-explanatory.
Charlotte's self-explanatory, but I'm going to bring up another woman.
Yeah,
Shayna Baszler.
Okay,
I think Shayna Baszler going to SmackDown is such a great move. One, splitting her away from Nia off brand helps, but two, now you can, looking at some of the women, like the women's division on SmackDown, Shayna could easily be one of the top contenders, if not the champion at some point. And we've been kind of robbed of that opportunity. I think might be a little too late. I mean, I know they're kind of trying to get her back on this like dominant run with her breaking everybody's arms and stuff. But, I'm kind of hoping they really get back to her. And Shayna versus Charlotte could be good. Shayna versus Sasha Banks could be good. And then we got some other, NXT people that have come up, Toni Storm, Shotzi Blackheart. So I'm kind of excited about Shayna being on SmackDown. I think that could really switch the game up for her. So,
all right. Man, we're an hour and 15 minutes into this, and we're just now getting to our third segment, Wrestler of the Week. So I'll just give you mine real quick, because, we've talked enough about it. Sammy Guevara is my Wrestler of the Week, new TNT champion. Back-to-back, decent matches. Wrestler of the Week plus one day. So
yeah, I'm actually going to say Adam Hangman Page just because I'm happy that he's back. I'm happy he's getting that title shot. And
that spot off the ladder into the table with was that Pac that I can't even remember the name of the move either. Last Call, is it Last Call? Is that the name of that move?
The clothesline?
No, off the ladder. The little.
Oh, yes. That is the Last Call.
Yeah.
But I don't remember who he did it to.
I think it was Pac. But actually, if you go back and watch it, it looked like Hangman Page took the worst of that landing. And it looked like he was like selling his knee, but he actually landed on his knee. Actually, for 2 or 3 seconds, I'm like, oh, no, he's hurt again. So, not again, but,
right.
He's hurt. He'd be out for X amount of time, and that would just really suck for someone that just now came back and gets hurt, and so
right.
Deadeye, that's what it's called. What? So what's Last Call then? Because I think he does a move called Last Call, or somebody does.
I don't know now.
I don't know either. Moving on. All right. Subject to change. So if you're new to our podcast, which by the way, if this is your first time watching us. Let us know. We want to give you a proper shout out. If it's your first time in a while watching us, let us know so we can give you a proper shout out. We thank you for joining us. If you're new to our podcast, this is a segment where Cole and I discuss some championships that we think might be changing hands in the near future. Why don't you go first?
All right.
All right, I can go first. Just by default, I think we're going to see Santos Escobar win the North American Championship next week.
So I'm going to one-up you.
Do it.
I see all of the NXT championships changing outside of the men's tag team belts soon.
Let's see.
I see Braun Breaker beating Tommaso Ciampa at Halloween Havoc.
As do I.
I see Santos Escobar becoming the new North American champion next week. I see Mandy Rose. I could see being the one that beats. I don't like it. I would have rather it been Taya Valkyrie or Frankie Monet, but I do see Raquel Gonzalez dropping her belt. I see the women's tag belts getting dropped off of Io and Tony.
I can see that.
I see all of them. All NXT belts are changing outside of MSK.
Normally, David, I would agree with you, but I think Reggie is keeping that 24/7 belt for a while.
I kind of like what they're doing with Reggie. I'm hoping that this is a way to try to make the 24/7 title actually relevant to where it can build them up into a mid-card. Actually doing a good job with not having a title change every single week with it. It actually makes it a little bit more fun to watch, knowing that we're not going to have someone be a 57-time.
Yeah.
I like that with R-Truth. I don't like that with every other wrestler, though. It's only funny with R-Truth.
Which, by the way, with R-Truth, I don't know if this is just me or if it's just the algorithm with YouTube, but has anyone else noticed that there's been a bunch of R-Truth videos popping up in your suggested lately, specifically where there's a lot of the videos that are edited and they pull the clip from R-Truth and his promo with Wade Barrett and the whole I don't know if that's PG thing. I've been seeing a lot of those lately, and I don't know why.
I kind of feel like R-Truth's kind of taking the Zack Ryder approach right now and keeping himself relevant via his TikTok and videos and, you know, kind of doing those different little personas and stuff on there. So,
okay.
But someone said asking Braun Breaker as champion. I'm telling you, Braun Breaker is kind of playing a heel right now, to like a tweener. I could see them actually giving him somebody, a manager, a kind of partner in crime, if you will, whatever, that kind of helps him win, maybe even in a dirty way to kind of protect Ciampa. But either way, whether they make him look dominant and he beats Ciampa or he wins in some dirty fashion, I think if you're doing NXT 2.0 and you're capitalizing on all these guys, which go back and watch NXT this week. I mean,
I have a pairing for you, which, by the way, I'll get back to that in a second. Just quick shout out to a few people that did comment. So Heather Day Jackson, first time listening. Thanks for joining us. Tell him 1990 from YouTube, first time. Maurice Davis, first time listening. Let's see. Thomas Henderson, first time in a long time. Missed watching you guys. Thank you so much. I think that was it. But hopefully you guys like what you hear, like what you see. Hopefully you come back. Hopefully you're not just here for the belt giveaway. Although I can't blame you because I would be too. But anyway, Chris Radford, thanks for joining us. But back to my suggestion. What if you paired Toxic Attraction with Braun Breaker? Like, I mean, Braun Breaker's matches, Toxic, there we go. Toxic Attraction would come out with him during every match. It would be unique, but I think it would also fit because it's like it would fit especially if Braun Breaker is NXT champion and Mandy Rose does win the NXT Women's Championship.
right.
I think it would fit. I think it would be unique, even though, I mean, I know AEW specifically is way, 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 way overdone, the stables and factions and this and that. I don't know. It would just seem like it would fit. Again, it's one of those intangible things. I can't explain it. And it's just my opinion. You guys might disagree. You're more than welcome to disagree with me. By the way, guys, if you're new to our podcast, we encourage anybody and everybody to have their own opinion. We're never going to tell you that you're wrong. open forum on our chat thread. We just ask that you keep the chat thread free of profanity and language, this and that. But always share your opinions with us. That's just my opinion. I can't really explain why. And I didn't plan. That wasn't anything that planned. It's just we were talking about. It's like, that would kind of fit.
I like the idea of Braun Breaker having a stable where he's kind of the head of it. Mainly because one, we just lost Hit Row, so there's no Hit Row on NXT. There's no more Undisputed Era on NXT. The pairing of Oney Lorcan, Birch, Pete Dunne, Rich Holland is pretty much over.
I don't want to miss anybody. Jeff Kelly, thanks for tuning in first time as well.
So a lot of these stables are gone outside of Legado del Fantasma, which has a girl, which has a tag team, which has a main face. I could see them start to put a stable around Braun Breaker. I'm curious if we could get like a new tag team, though, that could come alongside him. Whether it's those two gentlemen that were in that Fatal 4-Way Elimination who also went to the very end with MSK. I could see they're two big dudes that could kind of fit. They're kind of more country, though, like their gimmick, but maybe there's two guys that you're really trying to get fit in somewhere. I don't know, but either way, I'm kind of just thinking out loud here, but maybe we can get two guys alongside Braun Breaker that would be like a dominant tag team with him, help him win the belt. Because I want to make sure Ciampa's protective if he's going to stay on NXT. But I think the right call would be for all the NXT titles to change hands outside of MSK, because I think MSK fits the brand right now.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're the only champion right now that fits the brand.
That would make sense.
So
100% agree.
I'm going to say all NXT titles are up for subject to change.
Okay.
Within probably from now until their next pay-per-view.
Let's jump outside of WWE.
Yeah.
So I would say,
well, we know one off top. The X Division champion is going to be changing.
Well, yeah, that's by default. Ones that we don't already. Let's go this route. So let's jump over to New Japan. So the winner of the G1 Climax, which I'll be honest, I've not followed it.
It's a lot to follow.
I mean, you've literally got it's. I mean, the G1 start to finish. I mean, it's 12 days. I think it's 12 days. You've got two different blocks. Everybody faces everybody in their own block. For those of you that aren't aware of what the G1 Climax is. Anyway, fast forward. The winner of the two blocks face each other, and then the winner gets an IWGP Championship shot. I just have a feeling, for whatever reason, that the winner of the G1 will win the IWGP Championship. I don't know when that match is going to be. It might not be until Wrestle Kingdom, which is a few months away. I don't. Just a gut feeling that. Hold on just 1 second. Do you hear that buzzing, or is that just me?
I don't hear a buzzing.
Okay. Or like a... Sorry, I'm just trying to... Anyway. Thought it was something on my end. I was trying to see if I could... Anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if the winner of the G1 wins the IWGP Championship. Now, again, that might not be until Wrestle Kingdom, which is in January. But... if you follow New Japan, so first of all, Shingo Takagi is the current IWGP champion by definition, but you've also got, the whole Will Ospreay never lost it thing and this and that. But ultimately, let's put it this way. I don't think Shingo Takagi will retain that championship once Wrestle Kingdom is over. So it's kind of going out of the realm of our subject to change where we say within the next couple weeks. But with the G1 happening right now, I wouldn't be surprised if we get some sort of triple threat match with Takagi, Ospreay, and then the winner of the G1. I think the winner of the G1 will actually win the championship, and then that'll probably set up a longer-term feud with the winner of the G1 and Ospreay.
Yeah.
That's just me.
I think there's two, outside of WWE, There's 2 world champions that are actually going to change. I think Josh Alexander will beat Christian Cage for the Impact Championship. I always felt like Christian Cage was a transitional champion for the Impact Championship. He signed with AEW. They needed somebody that was a big name to beat Kenny for it. So Christian Cage having the Impact history to help kind of get Impact on the map a little bit.
That pay-per-view's coming up too, isn't it? Bound for Glory?
Uh-huh. And it's going to be at Bound for Glory, which is like Impact's like biggest, probably one of their top biggest pay-per-views outside of Slammiversary. It's probably in their top 4. Bound for Glory. So I think Josh Alexander, I mean, he was on a dominant X Division title run. I think him doing option C, him kind of staying face in all of this too, kind of sets him up for a babyface run as champion. He beats the top guy in Christian Cage and sets him up for
literally in about 2 weeks
for that. So I'm going to say Josh Alexander beats Christian Cage.
Okay.
I also think Heyman Page is going to beat Kenny Omega for the title.
Yeah, if we're gonna go out to Full Gear in a month, I think they need to make that happen. A month is enough time. We're used to AEW not dragging out. Like,
this storyline has been going for a while.
Yeah, I was about ready to say, I mean, I kind of alluded earlier to they're gonna have to make something happen soon within the next month, but a month is a long time given that they've already had this brewing for quite some time. I got one more for you. And I actually said this, I think, the last time we did Subject to Change. I still think Deonna Purrazzo is going to drop the Impact Women's Championship, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's to Mickie James at the Bound for Glory pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, Bound for Glory is going to bring, I think, big results. I think because it's one of their top pay-per-views.
It actually is their marquee pay-per-view.
I couldn't decide if it was that or Slammiversary. I was kind of stuck between the two, but Bound for Glory, it's always had their big. I wouldn't be shocked if you can see some debuts. That could be where we see Adam Shear show up as Titan. That could be where we see Buddy Matthews, Murphy, whatever you want to call him, whatever he's going to go by. We could see him debut. Who knows? I still think that's a little too soon for Bray Wyatt's non-compete clause, but maybe it's right on the mark. Maybe it's close enough. So.
And for what it's worth, guys, Deonna Purrazzo is 50 days shy of tying the longest reign in Impact Women's title history. Right now, Taya Valkyrie holds that mark. I don't think that Deonna will get there. I think she drops it.
We'll see. But I think the Mickie storyline's been going on long enough that it feels like they've really been trying to build this thing up and to kind of let Mickie go out on top. Kind of just like Christian Cage. Mickie James is one of their top women's champions of all time, probably. If you were to go down a list of women's champions, Mickie James is probably in that top 5 of prominent names to hold that belt. So kind of let her have her moment and get the belt off of Deonna and set something else up. Maybe this is also to free Deonna up. So we already got her teased in the Forbidden Door with the NWA Women's event. Maybe she's going to be involved in this TBS title thing.
Could be.
By next year, and they wanted to kind of get her freed up. So,
real quick, a couple people in the chat thread said Buddy Murphy to AEW. I've last heard that they passed on Buddy Murphy or Buddy Matthews. That
I read he's basically a done deal in Impact.
Yeah, that's what I saw too. But in addition to that, I don't remember it giving the reason why it said that they passed on him, but that the AEW they decided not to go down that way. And like you said, everything I've read points him going to Impact. I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up at Bound for Glory, and we'll see. So I think I'm actually I want to do well. I was going to say I want to do Impact prediction or Bound for Glory predictions next week, but that's to be determined given what we got going on next week, which we'll share with you guys here in just a second. This is the part of the show where we kind of go through some promotional information, if you will.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Real quick, before we get into that, thank you guys for joining us. I mean, this is the biggest viewership we've had in quite some time. Between all of our platforms, we've got about 90 people watching us right now, which is huge for a morning show and a lot of people being at work. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Hopefully you come back, even if you can't watch us live. We are across all of your favorite podcasting platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify. Did I say Spotify more than once? Doesn't matter. So we're on all of those. If you can't watch us live, all of our shows are archived. If you do want to watch us, but you can't watch us live, you can check us out through Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and now, once we get it fixed, we're on Twitch as well. They had to reset the stream keys with Twitch, I guess. They had a data hack or something like that. Didn't have time to get that fixed before today's show, however. Hopefully we'll get that situated and we'll be live via Twitch next week as well. On my end, it says we're live, but it also says we're offline. Not sure what that's about. We'll look into it. We'll try to get that fixed. Nonetheless, speaking of our social media platforms, they are scrolling across the bottom of your screen right now. Facebook.com/Going Broadway Podcast. Please like our Facebook page if you haven't already. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter.com/Going BRDWY Pod. Instagram.com/Going BRDWY Pod. Please also subscribe to our YouTube channel. YouTube.com/Going Broadway Podcast. I'm going to have to add Twitch to this as well. Twitch.tv/Going Broadway Podcast. Please follow us on Twitch as well. We're also on Patreon. If you want to consider becoming one of our monthly financial supporters, we would sincerely appreciate it. Patreon.com/Going Broadway Podcast. I frequently will post, information that isn't available to the mainstream public, if you will. We do also have tier-specific perks. If you're interested in that, we've got 4 different perks to choose from, as little as $5 per month. And some of those benefits include, but aren't limited to, additional giveaway entries into belt giveaways that we do. If you're new to our show, this isn't the first time we've done belt giveaways. We've done them before. We'll do we've done them a lot. We'll do announced giveaways. We'll do unannounced giveaways. So that's why you always want to tune in. Even if we haven't announced something, sometimes we'll do a giveaway just because. You can get discounts on your Going Broadway Podcast merch purchases. You can get free merch as well. Speaking of our merch, I'm going to throw these up. These are our most recent WCW Tribute Going Broadway Podcast t-shirts and hoodies. They are $25 shipped plus applicable taxes for a hoodie, $50 shipped plus applicable taxes for a hoodie. I think I said that right.
I think you said hoodie twice.
I think I did. $25 shipped for a t-shirt, $50 shipped for a hoodie. There we go. And they do come in the purple and gold, as well as our Going Broadway Podcast black, green, gray get up scheme, color scheme, whatever you want to call it. So if you're interested in any of those, as of right now, you still need to hit us up. We're still getting our website worked out as far as getting our store situated. I'm actually going to check that real quick. I don't think our store is quite ready yet. Our website is up and running. So check out goingbroadwaypodcast.com. Full-on website, links to anything and everything. We've got reviews from you, the viewer, or you, the listener. Links to all of our podcasting platforms, links to all of our socials, links to our Patreon. Our shop is still in work. So right now, if you go to our shop link, it says no products were found matching your selection. We'll try to get that up and running before next week's show. Speaking of next week's show, we do have a guest. So stand by. We'll be right back. That's right. Next week, we will have Kylie Ray on as a guest via video, Zoom, Skype, whichever. I think we're going to try to do Skype, but we will have her on next week. That is still the plan. I'm trying to work out if we're going to have a full-on Q&A for the whole show or if she's going to be a third co-host and we're going to have a semi-normal podcast. Kind of depends on how much of the wrestling product she's able to follow, but I know she's super busy. we have trouble keeping up with it ourselves, much less, traveling and being on the road like she does. So we'll see. But regardless, she'll be with us next week. So you're gonna want to tune in and join us. I'll tell you guys the same thing I've told her. We're not a dirt podcast. So if you're joining us thinking that we're gonna get dirt and answers from her, that's not our goal. Our goal is to have fun, interact with our guests, interact with you guys without any kind of drama. So just throwing that out there. If you're tuning in because for ulterior motives, you're going to be wasting your no, we've not done the giveaway yet. We're going to do that in a little while. I feel like our promotion and stuff, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Thought I covered everything.
We will just mention for a while we have been promoting that we were going to have Tully Blanchard on the show.
That's what it was.
As of right now, initially that was going to be because Full Gear was going to be here in St. Louis. It is no longer here in St. Louis. There is a Rampage that is here, but he is not sure if he's going to have his number called for that specific show.
Which, by the way, I touched base with him this past, I think it was Monday. Let me see. Yeah, I touched base with him this past Monday. He still does not know if he's going to be here or not.
So we're still, we don't want to keep promoting it, not knowing if he's going to be here or not. So that is TBD. It will happen. It's a matter of when, because that was actually going to be him live here in studio with us.
Yeah, whenever he joins us, he will be in the studio. It's just a matter of next time AW, specifically for a pay-per-view, next time they'll be in the St. Louis area. I wouldn't be surprised, not to get off topic, I wouldn't be surprised if that's, in 2022, just based on, the Royal Rumble being here, as well as, just Tony Khan wanting to make it up to the fans. So we'll see. It'll happen, whether it's, that was going to be November 4th, I think.
Our interview was going to be November.
I think it was November 4th.
5th or 4th, yeah, because the pay-per-view is the 6th.
Yeah, Rampage is on the 5th. So, yeah, he would be in studio with us November 4th. If it happens, we're no longer officially promoting that, but we will if he ever says, yeah, I'll definitely be at Rampage, which means he'll be in the St. Louis area. So, the Dynamite on Wednesday, the Wednesday before, is actually in Kansas City. He's not sure if he's going to have to fly out directly from Kansas City to Minneapolis or if he's going to be coming to St. Louis and then going to Minneapolis. He's just not sure if he's going to be needed for the Rampage show. We'll keep you updated. We'll let you know. And we shall press on. So, we are debuting a new segment. So, this is going to be similar to our One Must Go segment that we did last week. But this segment we are going to do, as it says, we're going to put over one or the other. So we are going to present each other with two options, whether it's two wrestlers, two segments, two pay-per-views, two championships, you name it. And we have to put over the other. So we're pick one or the other. So as an example, I will go first. So, and I'm gonna throw one at you. I'm gonna hit you hard with one. You ready? Happy Corbin or Rick Boogs?
Ooh. I only said it because I think out of the two, I would say Happy Corbin's actually probably the better wrestler. Whole package.
Wrestler, promo, just overall personality, charisma, you name it.
Rick Boogs.
Cena must go.
I'm going to say Rick Boogs.
I'm going to say Rick Boogs as well, but just barely. Happy Corbin shtick is really turned the corner for Corbin for me, because if you followed us for enough time, I've been very vocal about how I've hated Baron Corbin with a passion, and not just go away, or not just bad guy or heel heat. I mean, it's go away heat. I don't want to see you wrestle. I don't want to see you in my program. Happy Corbin is turned the corner for me. He's super entertaining. So credit to him for that. So,
all right,
give me one.
So this one kind of came to me out of the what was it? The PW Insiders Top 500 argument. Everyone was arguing, should it have been Kenny or should it have been Roman? I know you think my question is going to be, who are you putting over, Kenny or Roman? It's not. Who are you putting over out of their managers? Don Callis or Paul Heyman?
Oh, man, that's a good one. Wow.
Because they're kind of running similar storylines.
Yeah, I'm still going to have to say Paul Heyman, though.
You're a Paul Heyman guy. Wow.
Well, yeah. I mean, as much as I love Don Callis, though, Paul Heyman just has the larger body of work. I think that's just what gives him the edge for me.
Okay. Yeah, I
You thought I was going to hesitate more with that answer.
I don't know. Just because like they're running similar storylines, they're kind of running similar roles. But I would have to say Paul Heyman too. Paul Heyman's just a killer on the mic.
Okay. Okay, so in this scenario, you're not necessarily going to be told what specific match you're getting. You just have to pick one or the other. So you have to consider the entire body of work, if you will, in terms of this specific match. So would you rather, or put over one of these, any Money in the Bank match, Money in the Bank ladder match, or any Elimination Chamber match?
Ugh, that's tough.
Currently,
we're going currently.
Well, I'm going any. Okay, so let's put this in perspective. Let's say I want you to pick. If you had your choice of watching any Money in the Bank ladder match or any Elimination Chamber match, but I'm not telling you specifically which one. Like we have a TV. If you guys have joined us before, we have a TV to my right, and if I a Money in the Bank ladder match on or an Elimination Chamber match on right now, not knowing specifically which one or which match.
Okay,
but
I got you now. Elimination Chamber.
You'd pick Elimination Chamber?
Yeah.
I'd actually go Money in the Bank.
Out of the two, if we're going off past matches,
all time.
Right. Out of any of the ones I could get, I think I have a better shot of getting to watch one of the better Elimination Chamber matches than Money in the Banks.
Okay. I'm actually shocked by that. I thought you were going to say Money in the Bank.
Out of the two matches, I prefer the Money in the Bank match.
But you feel like you have a better chance of winning you'd have a better chance of
better match.
Yeah.
I think I'd go Elimination Chamber.
Okay. I'd actually go Money in the Bank, but I love the differing opinions on that one.
All right. Here you go. Which one would you put over from a comedic standpoint?
Okay.
Orange Cassidy or R-Truth?
Oh, R-Truth.
Comedic standpoint. They're still wrestling. They still have matches. But
R-Truth.
R-Truth or Orange Cassidy? Because I know people are like so crazy over, Orange Cassidy, and then you got those who are so crazy about R-Truth. I'm always going to be an R-Truth fan since back in the TNA days of when I really stumbled across him.
I don't even know if that's PG.
One of my funniest moments is when he came out with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman.
Oh, that segment's
and
the best.
He's like, I'm going to throw you over the top rope.
Paul Heyman.
And then all the matches where he comes out and does the wrong gimmick.
Hey, listen up, bong hit.
When he came out in the Royal Rumble and put a ladder up in the middle of the ring, I lost it. So
yeah. R-Truth. I mean, and Orange Cassidy's entertaining, but that's not even hesitation for me. So this is a good segue. This is I kid you not. This is one I had. Which would you rather put over, or which would you rather go back and watch? The R-Truth Brock / Paul Heyman Rumble segment, or the Index Wedding?
Ooh, I'm gonna say the R-Truth Brock segment. The Index Wedding was funny, but not near as funny as when you get Brock Lesnar to laugh.
You're doing something right.
Laugh.
Yeah.
That's saying something.
Okay.
All right. I just had one in my head, and now I am blanking on where I was going with it.
I've got a bunch of them here, so I can throw
do
more.
another one. And let me think of what it was that I had in my head just a second ago.
Okay. Let's go with this one. So kind of similar to the Money in the Bank Elimination Chamber thing. So you know that you're going to get to watch one of them, but you don't know which one. So you just have to pick. Would you rather watch any episode of AEW Rampage or any episode of WCW Thunder?
Rampage.
Yeah, same here.
I was not a Thunder fan. All right, I remember the one that I had.
Okay.
Right now, current
Jamie says Thunder.
Current landscape of wrestling. Who would you put over?
Thomas says neither. Sorry, that's not an answer.
Who would you put over? CM Punk or Bryan Danielson?
So phrase this for me again.
Current landscape of wrestling.
Oh, Bryan Danielson.
Right now, all together, complete package. CM Punk or Bryan Danielson? Who gets the
Bryan Danielson.
The push? I think I'd have to go Danielson based off of how he looked in his match. I still feel like Punk just looks a little rusty. But
I mean, I love CM Punk. I've never seen the appeal from an in-ring standpoint. It's not that he can't wrestle because he's good. It's just, I guess I'm just not as gung-ho, if you will, about his in-ring ability in terms of storytelling. I guess he can pull off moves. He's well-rounded as far as wrestling acumen, I guess, but in terms of telling a story, he's not Bryan Danielson.
Well, and I'm not going to lie, I've been kind of bored with CM Punk since his return because I feel like without the establishment is against me storyline, I feel like, and maybe it's just because he's playing a face right now and I need him to go heel on me, but I'm just not digging the promos he's cutting. I feel like everything is kind of soft, so...
Yeah, I can see that. Let's do this one. Entire body of work. So entire career. You got to pick one or put one over. Frankie Kazarian or Dolph Ziggler?
Oh, that's not really that hard, actually. I'm gonna
Really?
go Dolph Ziggler every day of the week.
Wow.
Every day of the week.
Wow. Okay. I thought for sure you'd have a hard time with that one.
I like when you said Frankie, I was like, ooh, that's gonna be hard to beat. And then you said Dolph, I was like, no, I can go Dolph every day of the week on that one.
Okay. I'd go Ziggler as well. I just figured that would be harder for you.
Nah.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right. Gotta put one over. Returning back to wrestling. Paige or AJ? AJ Lee. CM Punk's wife.
No, I know, but Hangman Page?
No, like Paige, like the women's wrestler Paige.
Oh. What should I rather see?
Like who you had to put one over. They're both able to come back to wrestling.
Oh, AJ Lee.
Because they were like their feud. They literally had feud. Everybody was like
I've never
50-50 on them.
Part of that is I was never really on board with Paige.
Oh, okay.
AJ Lee.
I got you.
I'll do one more. Well, actually, hold on. One. I did that one.
I could get one more.
I've got two more. I'll do them both. So, I'm trying to figure out how to word this one. Okay, put one over in terms of which are you more on board with? If creative came to you and said, we got to do one of these, one or the other, would you rather have a championship unification? And again, this is just as a concept.
And what company is this again?
Any company. No specific championship, no specific company, just as a concept. Championship unification or a championship tournament.
When you say championship tournament, it's people fighting to become champion.
Yeah. Yep.
Versus I'm going to say tournament.
Okay. I thought about it, and it was actually... I'm still going championship tournament, but the more I thought about it, the more I kind of... there's a word I'm trying to think of. I can't think. It's not coming to me. The more I thought about it, the unification thing kind of warmed up to me a little more, just because if you specifically went, WWE, you could do championship unification just because there's 30 championships on the brand. But if I'm going the route of, you're not necessarily company specific, Yeah, I'm still going championship tournament. So I agree with you. Okay, let's do one more each.
All right. Take age, take everything out of just straight up. Right now, they're both on the same playing field, ready to go.
Okay.
Who are you putting over? Just because we talked about this earlier. Finn Balor or AJ Styles?
Probably Finn.
Wow.
I'd say Finn. Only because AJ has already had.
Take all that out.
You said factoring in age and.
I said no. Don't. Take age and everything out of it.
Take it all out. Okay. I thought you said
straight up.
Okay.
Where they're both of them right now.
Okay.
That
changes
not,
it.
AJ's not 40-something.
Yeah.
You know, like right now, AJ Styles, Finn Balor, they're on the same age playing field. They're on the same points in their career. Everything's even.
Okay. So if they're wrestling each other and they're both in the primes of their career.
Yeah.
Which in Balor's case, that's pretty much now.
Yep. Versus AJ maybe 5-10 years ago.
Ooh.
I'm just saying something about AJ because AJ's still good now.
I think with a slight edge, I'm going AJ.
Yeah, I would have to say AJ.
Slight edge, I'm going AJ. Okay, last one, and then we'll move forward with the programming, if you will. So you can answer this however you want. You can either consider the matches that they've had. You can consider one match. You can consider however you want it. This is more of putting it over in the sense that I'm a such and such guy or I'm such and such guy with the option. So Rock versus Hogan or Omega versus Okada?
I'm going to have to say Rock versus Hogan just because out of the two, I'm more of a WWE guy. I wasn't really in on the Omega versus Okada stuff when it happened.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to say Rock versus Hogan.
Okay. I'm actually going with a slight edge, Omega versus Okada, just because of the quality of the matches. Also factoring in, so Rock and Hogan had two matches. A lot of people don't remember that No Way Out match they had in 2003, I believe. That match was awful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not good. So, Jamie says, any Hogan match is torture. Yeah, and there's no right or wrong way to answer this. I mean, Tony says Omega versus Okada if you like actual wrestling and not sports entertainment. Caleb says Rock versus Hogan because of the whole icon versus icon booking. No right or wrong answer.
Both great arguments.
Yeah, 100%.
Why you would choose
100%. So, yeah, these one must go and put over segments. We're gonna try to do these at least once a month. I think they're fun segments. It lets us kind of just shoot the breeze and have fun. It lets us have fun and shoot the breeze with you guys that are watching. So thanks for participating. We're going to continue to do these segments, these interactive segments, if you will. So let's change gears a little bit. Go to our AW. Well, it says AW previews. I guess we're only previewing Rampage. We're going to have to fix that.
Right.
Since we don't have two programs to preview anymore. I think I'll update that to say just wrestling previews because, I mean,
we'll look at a lot of things.
Well, we can look at SmackDown. We can look at Impact. Usually SmackDown doesn't announce a ton of stuff ahead of time.
It's usually just the highlight things, like 2, maybe 3 highlight moments of the night that they have highlighted.
Yeah. I looked earlier. I didn't see anything announced yet for SmackDown unless you have, but so we're just going to kind of preview Rampage.
The only thing that we know of is that the
tournaments,
King of the Ring and the Queen's Crown tournament is there. Obviously, we're still building towards Crown Jewel as well, and none of the draft picks. I think we're going to see just merged rosters for right now because none of the draft picks really take place until after Crown Jewel, but they've kind of been on both shows still. So,
yeah. So to preview Rampage for this tomorrow, we have got CM Punk against Daniel Garcia. We've got Lucha Bros defending the AW World Tag Team Championships against the Acclaimed. We've got Jade Cargill against Sky Blue. And the Philadelphia Street Fight for the FTW Championship, Ricky Starks against Brian Cage. Any predictions?
Well,
We can just spitball them real quick.
Well, first off, I don't see CM Punk losing.
Yeah.
Jade Cargill, I don't see losing to someone I've never heard of.
Right.
And as far as the street fight goes, I actually think Brian Cage will win and will do away with this FTW championship. I think it's a stupid belt. It's never really defended outside of Taz's group.
Yeah.
And it needs to end. It needs to end the storyline. It needs to be done with. And I think the best way to end it is to end it.
Not only the storyline with the FTW championship, just the whole move Brian Cage on from Team Taz, please.
Which it kind of goes back to the rumors. Everyone's been talking about rumors of is Cage going to be the first one to leave AEW for greener pastures? And I don't know. It's hard to say because you've heard the complaints. I also, if you watch the Dark Side of the Ring with his stuff about Chris Kanyon, there's a lot of ties to the Young Bucks and some of the guys who are on the AEW roster still and that work with AEW that I think there's just a lot of ties there. It'd be hard for him to leave.
Yeah. I agree.
Where that's at. So, but I'm hoping this kind of moves him on.
So you say CM Punk's going to win, Jade's going to win. You think Brian Cage is going to win the FTW championship and the AEW Tag Championship. Lucha Bros and the Acclaimed.
I don't see Lucha Bros losing to the Acclaimed. I don't see any real belt changing on Rampage.
No, I agree. I actually agree with all of your predictions, except I think actually Ricky Starks somehow wins. I agree that they need to do away with the FTW championship. I think they also need to get rid of Brian Cage out of this storyline. But again, just an intangible thing. I think that somehow Ricky Starks wins. I think they're going to keep the FTW championship around, just if anything, just as kind of a prop for Ricky to carry around.
The only thing that makes me nervous is that you've had Cage lose so many times. And on top of that, losing to Ricky just doesn't seem believable in a straight one-on-one match. So
okay. All right, guys. So in the words of, I can't think of, who's the UFC commentator or announcer guy? What's his name?
It's time.
Yeah. Bruce Buffer.
Yeah.
It's time. Except he kind of does a little jig, jumps around. And
the main event.
It is time, guys. And this has been, more than a year and a half in the making. Our first show was January of 2020. We've been doing this for, we've been doing it around a year and a half because we took a hiatus last summer. So right around a year and a half. So it is right at noon Eastern, 11 Central. I need you to reply with the word belts. BELTS if you want your entry. Again, you had to have been joining us live to win these belts because I've tried to give them away the last 2 weeks unsuccessfully. And so I said, we're going to give these away today, but you've got to be on with this live. And between liking our Facebook page, following us on Twitter, following us on Instagram, and subscribing to our YouTube channel, you had to have done at least 3 of those 4, plus reply with the word belts.
Make sure you're just writing belts right now, guys. I'm seeing some comments with other words in it. Make sure it's BELTS, nothing else.
Yeah, don't reply with the word belts twice either, because basically what's going to happen is I've got like a little macro thing that's going to populate your name by replying with this word into this randomizer.
And it's only going to do it once. So
yeah, and it's only going to do it once. So even if you reply with the word belts 10 times, you're only getting 1 entry. So a couple other disclaimers. If you win, but I have found that you have not done at least 3 of the 4, you'll be disqualified. I also only ship for free within the lower 48 states. If you live in Alaska, Hawaii, or otherwise internationally, you'd have to be responsible for covering some of the shipping costs, which in this case, it may be worth your while because you're getting 3 belts. So just something to consider. A lot of our other giveaways might not be in your best interest to do it. Anything else I'm missing?
Nope.
I'm going to keep this, Jamie, and I'm proof multiple entries means nothing. Yeah. I'm sorry. I still laugh about that. And the only reason
That was crazy.
the only reason I can laugh about that is because I worked something out with Jamie, and he didn't. Let's just say he didn't come away empty-handed. So, all right, I'm gonna close this up, and I'm doing one last spot check to make sure everybody has been populated over, if you will. Oh, my email's blowing up. Oh, man. And guys, thanks so much for tuning in today. I mean, this has been a fun show, one of the most fun shows we've had in a while. Again, guys, just bear with me. I'm making sure that everybody is populated over. Again, guys, if you replied with the word more than once, you're only getting one entry. Well, okay, that is one entry per social media platform. Like if you're on both Facebook and YouTube, you're going to get a couple entries because there's nothing I can do about that. I can't, figure out a way to. So, sorry for the dead air. I really want to make sure everybody's getting in on this. I closed it up at 11:02/12:02. So, guys, if you're replying with the word belts right now, I'm sorry, it is too late. I closed it up a minute ago. Cool. Looks like we're good. All right, I'm going to copy and paste this over. Cool. All right. All right, you guys ready? Man, Joey's staying up till the late hour with us. Shout out to Joey in the Philippines. It is past midnight there. Staying up and hanging out with us, we really appreciate it. All right, let's do this. If this is your first time, real quick, if this is your first time, thanks for joining us once again. Please stick with us. We're going to do frequent giveaways, again, announced and unannounced. We just opened up our Twitch channel. We're probably going to do a giveaway for that in the future as far as followers and subscribing to our Twitch and gifting subscribers to our Twitch. If you're not on Twitch, I encourage you to jump on there. Follow us on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/GoingBroadwayPodcast. We're gonna do a bunch of giveaways in the future, so stick with us. Don't unlike or unfollow just because you don't win. We do giveaways frequently. Those of you that are with us every week or just about every week can attest to that. So, other than that, let's do this.
Let's get it. 10 clicks.
10 clicks, and I turn my laptop around to show you guys once we have a winner.
And actually, I want to say something real quick.
Go for it.
When you win, whoever that is, if you could comment in here, make sure that let us know that you're on. But also, could you comment the 3 of the 4, if not all 4 platforms that you have liked or
Agreed.
followed on?
That's a good point.
So we can just double check that. That would help us, so we don't have to sit there and look through every single avenue if you've only done 3 of the 4. But just so you're being honest about your win.
Yep.
Let us know that you're here, that you saw that you won, and then also in that same comment, put the platforms that you have followed or liked on. That way we know.
And if your screen name is different, that would help as well. So if your screen name on YouTube or Twitter is different, let us know.
Yep.
Please. Or Instagram, if your screen name is different, just let us know. Because, again, if you win, whoever wins, I'm going to research to make sure that you have done at least 3 of the 4. So
for sure. So now that's all said and done. Thank you guys for watching the greatest wrestling podcast ever. I'm just kidding, y'all. We're not ending the show. All right, let's get it. 10 clicks.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'd say do a drum roll, but don't do a drum roll because you'll set off our soundboard.
Do one in your mind.
Number, that was awful. I'm sorry. Number 10. Travis Bird.
Oh, long-time listener of the show. I know he's liked all the pages.
Yeah, I'll still look, but I'm positive.
I know Travis has liked all the pages. Travis Bird.
Travis Bird, congratulations.
What does he always say? The fluffy penguin, or
I don't know.
I don't know. Congrats, Travis, man. You deserve that, man.
Travis, he says Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I will verify that.
I know it to be true, but
I'll still verify. But Travis, congratulations. Chris Robinson says unfollow. Travis is here, obviously. Congrats, Travis. Private message us through the Going Broadway Podcast Facebook page, your mailing address. Yeah, I'm with Gabriel. I'm just glad we got a winner finally.
Yeah.
So, Travis, private message us. We'll get you hooked up with those 3 belts. Thanks to everybody so much that has supported us, liked our pages, followed our pages, subscribed to our pages. We can't say thank you enough. We sincerely appreciate it. Just a reminder, we are live going forward every Thursday. I think I said that wrong during the promotions because I'm used to saying Wednesdays. We're live every Thursday now going forward, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Sincerely appreciate you tuning in. I want to play our Kylie Ray promo one more time, so stick with us. We'll be right back. That's right, guys. Kylie Ray, next week, you're going to want to tune in, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central on Thursday and every Thursday. I appreciate the kind words, you guys. I mean, it means the world to us that you tune in and that you watch and hang out and have a good time. That's really ultimately our goal. And we went a little bit over today, so especially thank you for sticking with us for this long. But unfortunately, it's not about that time. It's past that time. Cole, any final thoughts?
Guys, as always, thank you for watching the greatest wrestling podcast ever. We sincerely appreciate it. Make sure you tune in next week. It'd be so dope to have a packed house on this thread for Kylie Ray. So invite your friends, get on the thread. And I promise you, if there's not an entire Q&A show, there will be a time and a place to ask questions. So make sure you have your questions ready. Hopefully we can get to some of them and ask them. Just make sure they're appropriate. Again, we're not a dirt podcast. So ask some cool questions. Make it fun for her as well. But join us for that. Also, don't forget to go get your Going Broadway podcast merch. It's that time of year. Get yourself a hoodie. These are made to order, so they do take about 6 weeks to get to you. So make sure that you place your order. You can contact us through the Going Broadway podcast Facebook page, and we'll get you hooked up with one of those. $25 for the shirts shipped plus applicable taxes. $50 shipped plus applicable taxes for the hoodies. And those are going to be something you want. So make sure you go get those. Other than that, guys, it is that time to go. So I leave you with your favorite thing in the entire world.
Thanks for joining us, guys. I'm going to give you a full view of these Going Broadway podcast belts. These might be the last time you see these belts. See you next week.
This podcast was a presentation of LightUpMedia.fm.